favorites to start the year, the Brooklyn Nets, and it all fell apart at multiple iterations during the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, they signed Durant and Irving in 2019. They thought things would be different, but a first-round loss.
And a sweep. Boston, 4 in a row. After they lost in 5 to the Nets last year, they answer back with their 8th series sweep in franchise history, last done in the bubble against the Sixers. And Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant head into the offseason.
The Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are always one of the more polarizing and controversial teams in the league, whether that be because of the 3 stars that this team has or the high expectations that this team carries. And this is also one of the more interesting teams that I've done an outlook on to date, for the simple fact that there's so much to talk about. This is the team we'll be talking about today. Now, this team last season got swept in 4 games to the Boston Celtics in the first round, and there were obviously a lot of people questioning this team after that. I mean, there's always a debate whether Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are a good duo together, whether Steve Nash is a competent coach, or how good this team would be if they had chemistry. All those things we'll be talking about in the video today. Now, if you're new to the Outlook series, this is what I talk about. I first talk about the current state of the team, the future of the team, and how I see the team performing in the next season. Now, if you're a returning viewer that hasn't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. 98% of you guys who watch my channel aren't subscribed yet, so feel free to click that subscribe button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you stick around to the end. And if you enjoyed the video, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into the Brooklyn Nets Outlook. Now, first we're going to talk about the current state of this team, and I first wanted to talk about some positives and some negatives with this team. And one positive that I can say that this team has is that they have a lot of great shooters. I mean, you're looking at guys like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Seth Curry, Patty Mills, TJ Warren, Joe Harris, and Royce O'Neal. Having this many shooters gives you the flexibility to run multiple lineups. Another positive I wanted to point out with this team is the star power. I mean, this team has a legit big 3 in Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons. I mean, this could easily be considered a top 5 big 3 in the league. And I know a lot of people like to talk bad about Ben Simmons, and a lot of the stuff he's done recently has been a little questionable. But me personally, I'm still a huge believer in Ben Simmons. He's still a guy that can give you 14 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists and give you all NBA level defense. I mean, what he brings to this team defensively shouldn't even be in question. I mean, he's easily the best defender on this team. He's a guy who can guard multiple positions. He can guard your team's best player, and he has a high IQ on the defensive end as well. And if you watch this team last season, they were missing a guy like this. In the Celtics series last season, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were having their way with this team. They didn't have anyone to put on those two, and it hurt them severely. I mean, Bruce Brown was the best option to put on those two, and it still didn't work. And if Bruce Brown is your best defender, then that says a lot about your team. So like I said, a lot of the stuff that Ben Simmons has done recently has been pretty questionable, but please do not forget who he is. And that all leads me to the weaknesses with this team, and that's obviously still the defense. Now, yeah, you do plug in an all NBA caliber defender in Ben Simmons, but he still won't be able to cover everything. Because if you're going against those deep teams in the East like the 76ers, the Bucks, and the Celtics, then Ben Simmons will only be able to neutralize one guy. I mean, let's just say, for example, the Nets had to play the Bucks. Then they'd obviously have Ben Simmons on Giannis, right? Then what about the other matchups on the floor? I mean, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are 2 guys who are capable of giving you 20 a night. So who would be guarding them? Kevin Durant is the best option, but he's not going to be able to chase those 2 around the entire night. So you're going to need someone else who can do that. Another weakness I could see with this team would be the interior presence as a whole. I mean, whether it be shot blocking or rebounding, this team doesn't have a lot of options. Nick Claxton is your best option right now, but he can be a little unplayable at times. He has a tendency to foul too much, and he's not a great rebounder. And his inability to knock down free throws is a big problem as well. So when he's out of the game, who is the interior presence? I think the most optimal lineup for this team would be Kyrie Irving, Seth Curry, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons. With that lineup, you obviously have elite scoring in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. You have the spacing, and Royce O'Neal being a great perimeter defender helps that lineup out a ton. So there's a lot of flexibility within that lineup. And then obviously you'd push Nicholas Claxton to the bench. So now you have an interior presence coming off the bench. Now with that lineup, I would have Ben Simmons being the primary playmaker. I mean, kind of playing that Draymond Green role, pushing the pace and finding open shooters. That would be the best offense for this team, because the ISO style that this team wanted to play last season didn't work. And all it takes is a team with great on-ball defenders like the Celtics to stop that. So you bring in a playmaker like Ben Simmons to open up the offense and play make for others. And that is way more effective than just isolation offense. So overall, this team has its strengths and weaknesses. No matter how many optimal lineups you throw out there, this team will always have its weaknesses. And now moving on to the future of this team. And this team has a questionable future. There's definitely some good and there's definitely some bad. Now, as far as contracts goes, this team is fine. They just recently locked up Kyrie Irving on a 4-year, $136 million deal. And that's huge, because before that, if they would have lost Kyrie Irving, then that would have been a huge loss for this team. Kevin Durant is locked down for 4 more years, and that's huge for this team as well. And Ben Simmons is locked down for 3 more years. But other than that, the rest of this roster is filled with 2-year contracts. And these are really important players. I mean, Seth Curry is on a 1-year, TJ Warren is on a 1-year, Patty Mills is on a 2-year deal, Joe Harris is as well, and so is Nicholas Claxton and Royce O'Neal as well. So those are a lot of guys that the Nets have to worry about. So contracts wise, this team has a lot of questions. But age wise, I think this team is just fine. I mean, Kevin Durant is 33 years old, but he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. Kyrie Irving is 30 years old and is still in his prime. Ben Simmons is only 26 years old, and the rest of the team is filled with veterans. So to fill those spots up, here are some guys that I would recommend them sign in the up and coming free agency class. One guy I would recommend signing would be Steven Adams. Steven Adams is an interior presence who can protect the rim and provide great rebounding for this team, something that they desperately need. He's also a veteran who's been to the playoffs multiple times in his career. So if they can sign him on a low budget deal, then I think that'll be perfect for this team. Another guy I would recommend this team sign would be Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish has shown you that he can be a very good on-ball defender, and that's something that this team also needs. He can play off the ball and he can finish at the rim. And let's not forget that he's only 23 years old, so he's still got that potential. And the last guy I would recommend this team sign will be Jeremy Grant. I mean, Jeremy Grant is always a great off-ball piece who can play pretty good defense on the perimeter. He's a really good finisher at the rim and he provides great length for you. So I believe that all of these guys can help this team out a lot, especially if they get them on cheap deals. So overall, this team has a couple question marks coming into the future. They've got a lot of contract situations that they need to figure out soon, but I believe they'll bring in more free agents to help the team out as well. And that's what I think about the future of the team. And now moving on to where I see this team performing next season. I believe that this team will finish as a top 5 seed. I mean, looking at the top of the Eastern Conference, you got teams like Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, and Miami. And I believe that Brooklyn is right in that tier with them. And I don't think it's too crazy to say that. I mean, yeah, Brooklyn finished as a 7th seed last season, but before Kevin Durant got injured, they were 27-15. And after he got injured, they went 5-17. So it's safe to say that Kevin Durant's injury definitely hurt their seeding. But I believe that adding Ben Simmons to this team gives them a little more leeway. Because if Kevin Durant gets hurt or Kyrie Irving doesn't play for some reason, then Ben Simmons could be there to pick up the load. So this is obviously a team that has full capability of being a high seed. I mean, they were literally the 2nd seed the season before. And earlier this season, before Kevin Durant got injured, it looked like they were going to stay on the same pace. And now looking at the ceiling for this team, I believe that it would be the 3rd seed. Because even if this team is at its best, I still don't believe that they'll be better than the Celtics or the 76ers. And those are 2 teams that I have finishing above them. For one, I believe that Boston would be a lot more healthier and they're simply just a better team. I mean, they were the 2nd seed last season after starting the season out horrible. And then you've got Philly, who finished as the 4th seed last season, but they improved a lot. So that's the ceiling for this team next season. And the floor for this team would be the 6th seed. I say the 6th seed because for one, chemistry is still a problem with this team. With all the drama between Kevin Durant, Steve Nash, and the ownership, that could be a huge problem. And health could be a huge problem as well. But even last year with their chemistry problems and health issues, they still finished as the 7th seed. So the lowest they can be is the 6th seed. Because even with all the health and chemistry problems, adding a guy like Ben Simmons to your team is a huge addition. So that's the ceiling and the floor for this team. And that's how I see the team performing in the upcoming season. So overall, this is a very interesting team. This team obviously has a lot of question marks. Whether that be because of the contract situations or the roster as a whole, they have a lot to improve on. But this is still easily one of the most talented teams in the league at the end of the day, and you can never count this team out. So to give this team a grade, I would have to give them a B-, and that is the Brooklyn Nets outlook. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have a team that you will want me to do next, as usual, leave it down below in the comment section. All of my social media links will be down below in the description. More videos just like this one on the way soon. And as always, I'm out. Peace.